Sure, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, this is recording.
Yeah, namaste, everyone. Yeah, we are going to have an interesting research video on all the epidemics that has happened. I mean, right now we are in the middle of a pandemic, and yeah, we haven't overcome it yet. But we felt it might be very interesting to see um, what were the planetary positions for previous epidemics that happened. And perhaps that might give us some kind of insight into what we might be going through and so on. So yeah, Dr. Aditya Togi,
Yeah.
over to you now.
Thank you, Sandeep. Thanks, Sandeep, for introducing. Thank you, Dr. Pai, for joining. Thanks, Sandeep, for joining. I know it's an early morning for you there. Okay, so I will share my screen and I will let you know how this. But there were a lot of response from people saying that, okay, what is this coronavirus thing? As we know, it's going all around. So they were asking me what is the thing, and I don't want to really make people afraid. And I was said I don't want to do any video on coronavirus and all, because everyone knows there are a lot of already videos going around on the web.
Right.
And I said, what we can learn from this as an astrology student, let's learn something from this, and let's do the analysis. That's what correct. Any event happen, we astrologers should be able to know why it happens and what are the positions. So what I did was, okay, I thought will take an example of few epidemics which happened or pandemics which happened in the globe on a large scale, very major pandemics, and said, let's see the position of planets, what it is. Is there any common similarity between them or not? Which I have not done. I've heard people saying something or the other, some other planets and all, but I've really not done my own research. And this, I thought maybe let me do. Then I thought, which planets? The first thing is which planet should come into picture. So what do you think? Which planet should be possible? Of course, Rahu Ketu, everyone says, because Ketu is invisible. Rahu is also invisible. Viruses are invisible. So that's for Rahu Ketu. But what other planets that comes to your mind when you talk about pandemics or epidemics?
Usually malefics like Saturn, Mars,
Mm-hmm. True.
and probably Rahu, Ketu, Nakshatras also potentially.
True. That makes sense. So yeah, so Rahu Ketu is of course the virus. And pandemics are what? Epidemic is nothing but going to a large number of people. Otherwise, why we
Yeah.
are worried? Large number, large expansion. So there's also some Jupiter role to play, and it's affecting people.
Interesting.
So common masses,
Yes.
so Saturn, and these are long-term planets: Rahu, Jupiter, Saturn, and Ketu. Rahu, Ketu, Jupiter, Saturn. So let's understand the position. So these are the 4 planets. I did study their positions. So I just took the example of what is epidemic? A widespread occurrence of an infectious disease in a community at a particular time. Infectious disease is related to virus, that is Ketu. So we just cannot talk Ketu. You have to talk Rahu Ketu axis. Then many
Right.
people are coming in the picture. So it's Mars pattern. And then virus needs to be active and widespread, which is nothing but Jupiter, widespread. And also
Right.
viruses are always there, but when it becomes really active and affecting people, maybe Jupiter role has to be played. So these are the planets that I will take into consideration: Rahu, Ketu axis, Saturn, Jupiter, and even health karak, as Sandeep said, Sun and Mars, because
Yes.
Sun and Mars are very karakas for health too. Sun is a karaka for health, and Mars is a karaka for blood. So, but in our study, we focus on only these 4 planets: Rahu, Ketu, Jupiter, Saturn, because Sun and Mars are short-term planets. Because the epidemics date which I took, they just give the month and the year. Yeah, and in the month, it's very difficult because this Sun and Mars will change the positions in the month and in few months. In a month, Sun will change in maybe a month or so, less than a month. Mars will also change a little bit more than a month or 2 months around. Mars will change the house. So Rahu, Ketu, Jupiter, Saturn, as they are long-term planets, is difficult. It's easy to see the position of those.
Yeah, it's interesting. You would actually include Jupiter. No one thinks about Jupiter initially, but I think Jupiter should also play definitely a big role in
It's playing
epidemics.
a lot of playing a very important role in every case. That's what.
Very
Yeah.
interesting.
So this is take a few cases of worst pandemics, analyze the position of these long-term planets. This is what I have done. Okay, and how many cases I have taken? I have taken about 10 cases here. First is Asian flu 1957, flu pandemic 68, then HIV as we know 81. Now Surat plague was, it's not was a really big pandemic, but then I remembered it because when I was 1994, I was like a young kid at that time, so I remember that. I said, let me see, and incidentally that also fit very well. So Surat plague was not really like a worldwide; it was in India, but then I just thought I will just use that. Then Nipah, which came in 1998, SARS, swine flu, Ebola, MERS. It is not grouped under a major panic, but still it is there. And finally, COVID-19, which came in the end of December, end of 2019, but mostly 2020. So these are some 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different cases to study and analyze. Now, people may somehow have a question that I have not included Spanish flu because I was trying to see Spanish flu. It was in 1918. See, for our study, sometimes you have to consider proper month too. See, days fine, but then if you do, Spanish flu was from 1918 to 1920. Now Jupiter will change its position. We don't know, and all the dates were given after. You can see after 1957. All these dates are after 1957. So I just took events after post 50s, okay, post 1957 or something, not before that, because it was very difficult to exactly pinpoint the month around. Now there was some plague and around in 17th century in France and all those things that also can be taken, but then they don't give a specific month, so I don't really see when the outbreak happened, okay, or when that exact period was. So that's why I didn't took that, but at least for 10 cases, it's I think it's a decent amount of statistical data to analyze. So you could take previous two, but that's the reason why I selected this one.
Yeah, there's no harm in analyzing epidemics for what they are. Even if
Correct.
we
Yeah.
include or doesn't include
True.
Spanish flu. So, but at least it'll be interesting to see if the epidemics that happened very close to recent times also had any interesting patterns.
But in Spanish flu also, I was looking a video on Dilip Kumar's video,
Right, right,
and
right,
he did talk about Spanish flu, and the positions were similar. So, but
right.
really to pinpoint the month and all, I don't know. So that's why I didn't.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
So okay, let's talk with this first Asian flu. Asian flu started February 1957. They said now here they don't even give the date. So okay, at least February 1957, we have got the month and we have got the year. It's okay to assume a middle of February because this Jupiter, Saturn, Rahu, Ketu will not change that much position actually
Mhm.
in whatever date you select in 1957. Okay, so assuming that I have shown you the position of Jupiter, Saturn, Rahu, Ketu. Jupiter was at Virgo 7 degrees, Saturn is Scorpio 20, Rahu Scorpio 1, Ketu Taurus 1. And it's interesting to see that Rahu was with Saturn. Jupiter is basically making a ninth aspect here, okay, on Ketu, and Saturn is also giving a seventh aspect. So you can see Ketu virus, Jupiter is giving its power, it became really active, and Rahu Ketu axis falls here. And of course, forget about the Lagna, do not consider Lagna. We are just considering the position of planets and their axis playing. That's all. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So you can see Jupiter, ninth aspect, Saturn, seventh aspect, assuming this Asian flu. One can consider the signs and the tattvas of planets, tattvas of the rashis where these are, but till now, forget our, we'll just consider the position of planetary positions and aspects basically. This caused flu pandemic again, started in 13 July 1968. Now remember all this flu, the duration of this flu are just not like a few months and all. It takes about 6 months, some takes about 1 year, some takes about 1.5 to actually finish completely. Okay. Now it says started 13 July 1968 and it became, after 3 months, it became very severe. So 13 July means it should be somewhere in October. And then I looked into the position of planets in October and I got these positions here. Again, you can see that Jupiter is with Ketu and Saturn, Rahu, Saturn together making an aspect on planet Ketu. So again, there is an Jupiter, Ketu, Rahu, Saturn role playing in the picture.
Right.
Again, HIV/AIDS. AIDS epidemic officially, what is this? No, officially it was decided that it was started in June 1981. Okay, and the date was given as 5th June 1981. It was officially declared as pandemic in June 1981. So assuming a date of 5th June 1981, I checked the position of planets. Again, you see Jupiter is with Saturn and Jupiter's fifth aspect is on Ketu. Okay, so everywhere Jupiter Ketu things are coming very common, and either Saturn also will play a role. Jupiter is with
Yeah,
Saturn. Yeah.
it's interesting here that AIDS being a sexual disease, Saturn is aspecting Scorpio, and Rahu is also aspecting Scorpio through his fifth house aspect.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Makes
that's
sense.
interesting from the aspect kind of thing. But yeah, very interesting here to see Jupiter involved.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Now this Surat plague I was saying, the Surat plague I remember, 26
right,
August to 1994. I remember that year very well, 1994. I had my cousin Surat and she had to come, so I remember that time very well. Again, Jupiter is with Rahu, and that means directly Jupiter is making an aspect on Ketu. Saturn, you can see here, Jupiter is having his fifth aspect on Saturn and his seventh aspect on Ketu. Again, Jupiter Rahu together and Saturn Ketu. So again, a relation between that. And all degrees and signs are given here, so you can take a look of what it is. And the date which I have used this position of planet, the date is here. The
right,
Nipah virus, it came from September, so you can see the duration, September to May. So almost like about 8 months, Now,
right,
assuming 12th Jan 1999, you can see Jupiter again with Ketu here, and Rahu is uh, again the same position, Jupiter Ketu. So every time it's the same. Of course, there's no play of Saturn here. Of course, Saturn and Rahu, if you take by you know fifth from it, so it's like if you take the what is that 159 axis.
right, right.
Let's not do that because it will be
Yeah, but still, Rahu aspects Saturn though. So
Rahu as per
like
Saturn.
with its yeah,
SARS. You can see Jupiter again, fifth aspect here. Saturn also aspects Ketu, and Saturn is with Rahu too. It was from November 2002 to July 2003, around that time. Okay.
right,
So I'm seeing in that period what is happening. So this combination of planets do happen at that time.
right.
Was
So SARS, I think SARS is similar to Corona, right? If I'm not mistaken, something with lungs.
Yeah,
Yeah, so here Jupiter is actually, well, Saturn is aspecting Jupiter in fourth house of lungs, and then Jupiter is also aspecting Ketu. Jupiter from the fourth house of lungs,
correct.
a natural zodiac. Very interesting.
Yeah. And you remember now Rahu is also coming back to
Yeah,
Taurus.
exalted.
He's also
Yeah,
coming
Taurus.
another in
Yeah,
September or something.
yeah, great. Yeah,
But there's some good news. I will see. But we won't
sure.
Jupiter Saturn playing a role there. But anyway,
Yeah, yeah,
then came swine flu from January 2009 to August 2010. So I have to just took a date of 30th Jan 2009. And here the Saturn is very Leo 27. So it's almost that's why I put here like it's
hmm,
almost going away from Leo, almost like the cusp of Leo and Virgo. Again, you can see Jupiter is with Rahu, making an aspect on Ketu, and Saturn is maybe somewhere I don't know where in the Leo constellation. So if it is in Virgo, then Jupiter's ninth aspect will also fall. But so it's very close to the cusp of Leo and Virgo. But again, you can see Jupiter with Ketu and Jupiter Rahu together. Then came Ebola. Now, Ebola was very strange. So 2014, 2016, I assuming 31st March 2014, these are the position of planets. I see that there is no Jupiter Ketu direct relation. Rahu is with Saturn, of course. Saturn is making an aspect on Ketu. Then what did I do? But here, it's from 2014 to 2016. So around mid July
right,
July 2014, this is the position of planet. Rahu and Ketu. Rahu came in Virgo, from Libra it came in Virgo. So it's entering the Virgo. So Rahu is very close to the Virgo and Libra sign. So by another 3-4 months after this March, it was seen that Rahu Ketu will be changing their house. So Rahu Ketu will be here, 6 and 12. So in that way, if you say if Rahu was here and Jupiter was in Cancer, and Saturn was in Libra then. Okay, so Jupiter in Cancer and Ketu will be in Pisces. Then you can say that Jupiter will have an aspect on Ketu, because
Right.
Ketu in Pisces, Jupiter will be in Cancer, and then Jupiter's ninth aspect will fall on Ketu again.
Right.
This was the only case where it was not direct relation, but at least in the duration there was some relation. Okay, so no Jupiter Ketu relation on this date, but then after a few months there was having again a relationship between Jupiter and Ketu.
Right. But what's interesting is that at least Ketu was in a Ketu rule nakshatra during this time. Ketu was in Ashwini,
Correct.
and
Correct.
so at least at that point. And then of course when it changed, then it got activated further. That's
And
very.
Jupiter
But
is in
of
Rahu,
course, yeah,
Rahu Nakshatra.
Jupiter's in Rahu nakshatra. Yeah, that too. And of course, Saturn is heavily afflicting the axis. So yeah.
Yeah. I think Saturn, I think by this time, Saturn is also when it is Libra 23, but when it goes to Libra 20, I think it may be having some retrogression here. You see, 28 to 23. So maybe, who knows, it may have gone even to Swati. And Swati, because it starts at Libra 20 degree,
Right.
again Saturn will also possibly maybe in Rahu's
Yeah.
Nakshatra too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
this was the case where it was slightly, I see. And then finally Mars. Mars was again May to July 2015 in South Korea, where epidemic major. It was one of the major. Mars has got some episodes, 1, 2, 3. Some Mars, several stages were there in the different times. But this was one of the major from May to July 2015, and assuming 31st May 2015. These are the position of planets. Again, Jupiter's ninth aspect falls on Ketu. Jupiter's fifth aspect falls on Saturn. Again, the similar relation. And then finally, our friend coronavirus, which started in December 2019. We don't know. Some people say November, some people say December. We don't know, but definitely it was before the start of the new year. And Rahu again here, and Jupiter, Ketu, Saturn was again at this position. So they were all together. Rahu in Gemini 14, Ketu in Sagittarius 14, Saturn in Sagittarius 27 degree, and Jupiter in Sagittarius 12. So very Jupiter and Rahu almost, Jupiter and Ketu is almost conjunct, in fact, 12 degree and 14 degree. So I don't know exact date when it started, but even though December, if you think, then it's like almost close conjunct, Jupiter
Yeah.
and Ketu.
Yeah.
Okay, so all this shows, so what we have learned till now. So there's a major role of Saturn, Jupiter, Rahu, Ketu. Ketu, now when I say Rahu, Ketu, I just cannot say Ketu, I have to say Rahu, Ketu axis, and very important role in pandemics. And then I said, see, Jupiter aspect will be 5, 7, 9, correct? We know that. Saturn aspect will be 3, 7, 10 houses. So to find Ketu having in the clutches of Jupiter is very easy. Like if Jupiter is with Ketu, or if Ketu is in 5th from Jupiter, or 7th from Jupiter, or 9th from Jupiter, that will be 1/3 of the time. Because out of 12 houses, 1/3 of the time it will be either in 1st house with Jupiter, or 5th house with Jupiter, or 7th house with Jupiter, or 9th house with Jupiter. So 1/3 of the time it will be there. Similarly, now you are saying that even Ketu, if it is in relation to Saturn, that means with Saturn, or 3rd with Saturn, or 7th with Saturn, or 10th with Saturn. So it will be 1/3 of the time, basically. So it's common to find only Ketu in relation to this, but then Ketu having a relationship with both Jupiter as well as Saturn, that becomes really a time when pandemics will happen, because it is easy to have Ketu either with Jupiter connection or Saturn connection. But then to have a good, for example, what is the probability that Jupiter, Ketu, and Saturn will come together at some time? Maybe very, very less. First of all, Jupiter, Saturn should be together. And I'm Jupiter, Saturn. Do you know, or anyone who knows how much time it takes for Jupiter and Saturn to have one conjunction to happen? Like when, if today there's Jupiter, Saturn conjunction, after how many years we will again have Jupiter, Saturn conjunction?
I think it's something like 20 years or something, right? Something.
Exactly, because Jupiter will complete 12 years for one cycle. By the time Saturn will move little bit forward, so it has to catch some more years. And in 12 years, Saturn will move away how much? 4 houses, something, 4 to 5, 4 houses, correct? 4 houses,
Yes.
around 4 to 5 houses, say 5 houses, 4 houses. So that approximately, yes, it's about 19-20 years. So Jupiter Saturn conjunction will happen every 19-20 years. But then we have to find Ketu also with that Rahu Ketu axis also somewhere having that link. Then only such pandemics break. Okay. So it's about probability about 1/9 of basically. So once in 9 years or once in 10 years, you will have something. But okay, fine. We talk about Jupiter, Ketu, Rahu, Saturn. But what holds for the future now? What is there? Now, yeah, if you see the position of planets now, you must have seen that Saturn has already left Capricorn now.
Right.
Jupiter will be leaving Capricorn. Jupiter will be leaving Sagittarius and entering Capricorn by next week.
Yeah, you meant Saturn has already left Sagittarius and moved into
Yeah.
Capricorn.
Sorry,
Right.
Saturn has already left Sagittarius and it's in Capricorn, and Jupiter will be again soon entering Capricorn. Thanks for the clarification. I think I
Right.
said
Right.
instead of
Right. Right.
Capricorn,
Right.
I said Sagittarius. Instead of
Right.
Sagittarius, I said Capricorn. Yeah.
Right.
So Ketu is free from the clutches of Saturn. Jupiter is now soon going. Still, Jupiter and Ketu are together now. But next week onwards, Jupiter will also go to the next house, and there you will have a cluster of Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars already. So that's
Yeah.
it. But again, Ketu will be free from this. Okay, on 30th
Yeah.
March, this is going to happen. 30th or 29th March, depending on where you are in the world. So Ketu is becoming free from the clutches of Jupiter, Saturn, and then Sun, the Karaka of health, also will exalt from mid-April. An eclipse is happening on 21st of June 2020. And Rahu Ketu will definitely move out by this Sagittarius Gemini axis by September 2020. And finally, because Ketu is in Mula Nakshatra, so Ketu will be in his Mula Nakshatra till September 2020, and after that it will move. So there are positive hopes for future, but then it's not going to be immediate. And the one lesson which we have learned, you have seen all the 10 cases, it was not like within a few weeks or within few months. It took certain time. It took 4 months, sometimes it took 6 months, sometimes it took 1 year, 1.5 year. So such pandemics to really go have its effect zero, it takes about some few months. It's not that very easy. Now we are only 3 months now. So I'm not saying that we will have the situation may improve a little bit after April, but then you have to wait, and maybe by September things will really improve at a faster pace. But till that time,
Right.
people have to take care, and whatever I know how to take care and all those, which there are a lot of videos and doctors are giving advice, so follow that. And this is another combination, which is Jupiter Mars Saturn is happening on 1st of April 2020. So this also, I really don't like all these combinations happening. But yeah, just wait till maybe after mid-April you will see some effects happening, some positive effects, but it will take some time. I'm not saying after April everything will be all right. Uh, but this is what it was, and I just thought maybe these are some of the points which I thought maybe I'll put in to see how the role of Jupiter and Ketu is in all these pandemics. So that was
Right.
my point, and this is what I thought maybe it's a good point to share and study. So I
Great.
want to really make short video. So that's what I
Right.
have. Probably Dr. Pai, if you have anything uh,
Yeah.
to discuss or something.
Yeah, I think it was a brilliant presentation, Aditya, and I think even Sandeep was giving his inputs. For me, I have not studied the previous epidemics and the pandemics,
Mm-hmm.
but I was particularly focused on this one where I have been studying quite intensely, and it seems like the seed of this was sown maybe many few months ago. But what really triggered it, in my sense, again, we are looking at it from an astrological perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, the trigger point that we see, the most recent astronomical phenomenon that comes to your mind is the 26th December eclipse.
Yeah.
It's a solar eclipse which happened in Mula Nakshatra, where we had 6 planets together. So, along with Ketu, you had the Sun, the Moon, the two luminaries. Then you had Jupiter, you have Saturn, and Mercury. All of them have added to something to play with this, thing to happen, because Most of the cases started coming in December as you move towards this eclipse. And after this eclipse, there is suddenly has been an outbreak. And even I think the point that you made about these nodes, Rahu and Ketu, they always play a very significant role when it comes to any epidemic.
Mm-hmm.
Not about it. They are the lunar nodes. But besides that, we also seen the role of Jupiter and Saturn. Although you can't pin down and say it's just because of these two, four planets. But these four planets are slow moving, so they will definitely dictate many of these epidemics and pandemics. And if they have to take global proportions to become a pandemic, then Jupiter and Rahu have to play a role for sure, because they are more outward and expansion.
Yep.
So definitely, Jupiter has to play this role. But what I'm very interested in knowing about this is, whenever we came across all the previous predecessors of COVID-19, which is coronavirus. Before that, you remember you mentioned about SARS, which is
Correct.
SARS. I think is again something to do with the respiratory syndrome.
Correct.
And the Middle Eastern respiratory syndrome is MERS.
Yeah.
So everything is associated with uh, the the respiratory system.
Correct.
So that has to definitely do something with your third and the fourth house. So Mercury has to also play a role in these respiratory, and the way it spreads, because Mercury also naturally rules the third house of Gemini, and the sixth house of ailments, where it gets exalted. So Mercury does play a very important role in all of these things. Now, interestingly, you are talking about all of this, and I was seeing this phenomenon which is happening this month, where a lot of countries have been seen to where it has been spreading very much in March, because till end of February we could see the epicenter being, largely in Wuhan and parts of China, and suddenly this became out of control, spreading to countries like Italy, Iran, Spain, and now
Today US is the first top one number.
exactly.
Right.
So
Interesting.
US has suddenly caught up and is really spreading very fast there. Now, what I'm seeing is this phenomenon I was also seeing with something to do with the Kala Sarpa Yoga in transits. When you look at grahachar means there is a difference between gochar and grahachar. Gochar is only movement of moon. Okay, and what when you do gochar, you don't take aspects. When you do grahachar, you definitely take aspects of the planets on each other. Gochar is just how all the planets are with respect to the moon. Now, when you look at the grahachar, you see that from 17th of March 2020 to 31st of March 2020, you see all the planets are in hemmed between Rahu and Ketu. Okay, including Moon. The first planet which is going to come out of this whole thing is Moon. So when Moon comes out of this around about the 1st of April, that's when I feel there might be a reduction in the amount of excessive cases that you have been seeing globally. Okay, but there is also another phenomenon which is happening during that time is what I feel is because of Venus. Venus also is moving through Kritika Nakshatra. And Kritika is all about, the sharp object. And because of which I feel this thing can really go on till about 8th of April. But you will see a reduction, after the first, because also there is another phenomenon which is happening, which I think Aditya and Sandeep have already mentioned, is with the Jupiter moving out from Sagittarius into uh, Capricorn. But what is scary is, how Mars will be moving at a very, fast pace towards Saturn. And this combination can always bring in a lot of confusion, because Saturn is more wanting to get more stability and try to stabilize things, but Mars is the one which comes threateningly towards a war or something. So there would be a lot of blame game that you can see as Mars is approaching Saturn. And you can also see this mudslinging is already happening. Hey, talk about mudslinging, and then there's this guy who appears. Huh?
Yeah.
You're on mute.
You're on mute. You're mute. We have to unmute him.
Yeah. Wait.
How we unmute him?
You're on mute.
You're on mute.
Yeah.
Hey, Kapil, unmute yourself.
You can unmute him.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I just came out of Brahma from his belly. I just was dropped in the universe. I'm like, what? Where did that come from?
We already finished, you said we already finished the presentation.
Oh, you guys did?
Yeah.
I just finished my lesson for the course. So I was talking about Ardra today. So.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
We were just making an analysis of all the viruses, and all the
Yeah, he was showing me that presentation yesterday.
Yeah.
2 days ago.
So
So how did it all go? So what's happening in Canada?
we are recording. It's still recording.
Oh, you guys are still recording. Oh, oh, okay. I thought you guys were done with your.
No.
So do you have any insights, Kapilji, based on
Well, there was
Aditya's
this one
presentation?
thing. I'm pretty sure you guys covered everything. There was this one thing that I was watching a while back. It was called the 90-year Greek cycle. Because the Greek believed, and I think this could be even our own Hindu mythology, that every 90 years, the new generation that comes in will not give a shit about what people went through in the past 90 years. What did they suffer? And they'll be like, hey, we're in a new world. We're going to do these new things. We're going to do this. So they will ignore all these histories. So this is why they said that every 90 years, when that last of that generation goes away, the new generation comes in, they will make the mistakes that the history doesn't want them to make. So you will see every 90 years, a major event has occurred, like let's say from 1775, US independence. 90 years later, Civil War. 90 years later was, I believe, is the stock market crash.
Yeah.
90 years later is what we're now dealing
It's
with.
interesting you're saying 90 years because Saturn completes 3 rotations.
Yeah.
Rahu completes 5 rotations. So that's
Yeah.
again some cycle. LCM of 18 years and 30 years is
Exactly.
90 years. LCM of 18.
And then also, if you study, and this is somewhere that's where things become interesting, is actually the outer planet, especially Uranus and Pluto.
Yes,
Uranus, Pluto have been known to cause some of the biggest havocs in civilized, because remember, these are connected with civilizations and large populations, not just like one individual. So Uranus is known as this electric storm. They completely suddenly come out of nowhere and burn everything. And Pluto is pretty much Yama, that comes and takes away everything that has been just burned. So those are the things that.
What about Saturn? What do you think? Because Saturn is also, of course, not outermost.
Yeah.
We were discussing about.
Well, if you see Saturn, where does Saturn get the full Dikbala?
7th house.
7th house, Libra.
What is the 7th house besides marriage and partnership?
Death.
It's the masses.
Masses, yeah, right.
So Saturn, when something happens, Saturn says, well, now I have to bring this to the masses. This is why Saturn is connected with elections. Saturn is connected with social reforms, rebelliousness. Like in Tokyo, whatever is happening is really started with this one particular point of Saturn, which this was long back, so I forgot, but it started from this one point of Saturn entering, and those Tokyo, protests started. So Saturn also is connected with that. But yeah, I mean, we don't need to go to like smaller planets like Mercury, Mars, or Sun. They're in that quick movement. So yeah, these big movements really bring those big changes. See, Mars, what it does, it brings a terror attack with Ketu. Okay, terror attack done, you hear it in the news. Okay, it's only covered like maybe 2 blocks radius. Okay, fine. It's not like it's going to affect the whole world. Unless you had Saturn, Rahu, Ketu come in 18 years ago with 9/11.
Yeah.
And even that, within like a month or two, things just started becoming normal. They kept talking, but it was just like, okay, it happened. But it was a significant event because of Rahu, Ketu, and Ardra and Mula, Saturn coming into that mix. I believe it was in Rohini at that time.
Yeah.
So Saturn, it says, okay, I'm gonna make this big impact. And I guess Uranus must have also been involved, because Uranus changes sign every 15 years?
7 years.
Or every 7 years. Okay.
Yes.
Pluto is the one that does 15 years.
Yeah.
I've heard somebody to tell me about these outer planets. I don't know how far it's true, and what you have known about outer planets and how they are associated with some deities, Vedic pantheon deities.
Well, yeah, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh.
Yeah. Some of them also have said, like, Pluto is associated. What I've heard, Pluto is associated with Rudra, which is Shiva.
Yeah, Shiva.
Yeah.
Mahesh.
Yeah. And then Uranus.
Uranus is Brahma.
And
Uranus is Brahma.
Neptune is
Neptune
the
is
preserver.
Shiva.
Yeah, for what versions I have heard is Pluto is Rudra, Uranus is Indra, and Neptune is Varuna.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And look at this. Uranus entered Aries just now.
Huh?
Which is the individual, right? Aries is
Right.
us, the individual, the body. And our anuses are being in havoc for the past 3 weeks.
That's
not being able to find toilet paper.
Toilet paper thing, right? Yeah.
So Uranus, hey, don't count. Do not discount Uranus.
Yeah, and you know what? Which is strange is which planet represents that part of the body, which is the most hidden part of the body. That's why it's called Ketu, right?
Mula.
Right.
Nobody has seen it in real self, which means you can see Rahu, but you can never see Ketu in your body.
Yeah, well, if you take a mirror, and then you put it down, I observed it. It's beautiful.
Yeah. But if you really see what is paper is more like Jupiter.
Yeah.
Jupiter.
Wait, paper is more like Jupiter?
Yeah. And Mercury, right? Mercury as well.
Mercury, but I believe why Jupiter, I'll tell you. Jupiter is paper because it was previously all the texts were written on leaves.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you know that there is something called as Jupiterian cycles, which means on a wood, when you cut the wood, every year, annular rings, they call it. 1 year.
Yeah.
Jupiter
study the age of the tree.
Age of the tree.
Yeah.
And from that bark of the tree, you make paper. So if you see, the toilet paper is just like, a tree rolled together.
Yeah.
And Ketu is sitting there, which is in lockdown mode, with in Mula Nakshatra.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think all those people who are being worried about not finding toilet paper and, it's become, I think, white gold, I would say.
Hey, Dr. Pai, I have 7 rolls. So I'm going to sell that maybe 15.
You can be a millionaire.
$30 a roll.
You can
$30 a roll right now.
I don't mind driving down with a truckload if you can swap it with your Rolex. Give me a Rolex.
Hey, I will give this for a bag of toilet paper right now because I'm gonna have to start using the Indian way of using my hand. Water.
No, yeah, bidet, right? Bidet. No,
Hey,
but
man,
what is interesting?
you guys can
Yeah,
have this.
I just want to add on to what Kapilji said on Pluto.
Bring me a
You know,
synthesizer and a toilet paper for this, please.
For a Rolex.
Have it.
Yeah. So what I was looking at was what Pluto was doing last time in Capricorn. So interestingly, when Pluto was in Capricorn, the American Revolutionary War happened.
Yeah.
And then, but when the Revolutionary War was happening, there was a small outbreak of smallpox among the soldiers first. And then the war happened. So it's almost like there was a virus kind of outbreak at that point, something we are going through. And that happened exactly when when Mars transited over Pluto, exactly around that time.
Correct.
So all the soldiers got affected. And right now, like in India, it's all lockdown mode. You leave the home, you'll find soldiers or police cops in the roads and stuff like that. Literally you feel like that. So it's very, very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Dr.
But
Pai,
yeah.
you pointed a few special things, like you said, why in March there was widespread, correct? Like
Yeah.
this started in December, but you don't have this much widespread in January, February. And why in March suddenly this became? Because if you see sun, because when you are talking about months, see the position of sun. Sun
Yeah.
was in Sagittarius at that time, then it moved to Capricorn, Aquarius, but now it is in Pisces.
Yeah.
When it is in Pisces, the sun in Pisces is a water sign, sun is a fire sign. Now you see that sun has really gone down. So it has, that's why many of all this widespread started happening. Maybe
See,
that's one reason.
it is very strange that you talk about sun and nobody talks about sun. But when you're talking about corona, remember the word corona comes from a Latin word which means crown. And corona is the aura of the plasma around that surrounds the sun. It's called the corona. Sun's corona extends millions of kilometers.
Correct.
And you only see the corona of the sun when there is a total solar eclipse. So something related to, when you talk about corona, something related to that outer sphere of the eclipsed sun, a total eclipse. That's the corona. Oh, he's back.
Yeah, I just disconnected accidentally.
Yeah. So no, I was saying the corona is actually the disk that you see when a total solar eclipse happens. That's called the corona. Corona means the crown. Okay.
Right.
And that's why the sun has some role to play. And that's why if you see most of these astrologers who are making some predictions about when this corona, they are looking at something to do with the exaltation of the sun, which means when it comes into 14th of April onwards, when sun comes into Aries in Ashwini Nakshatra, there might be some respite. That's what many people are claiming.
Correct. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But again, continue, Dr. Pai. I had another point.
Okay, yeah, please go ahead.
Now you said also eclipse. You see how eclipse came in 26th December 2020. That was an eclipse, 2019 eclipse, and that eclipse was the maximum eclipse was again in China.
Yeah, exactly. It was visible in China.
It was visible in China, and I think the maximum eclipse is one point in that path where it is like at the max peak period where it's falling at the exact noon. That will happen in China. Again, there's another eclipse in June, correct? Which is again going over the northern parts of India and China again, I guess.
Yeah, June for sure. Yeah, exactly. It's visible in India and China again.
Correct. So this is like, and many times I've seen something trigger events happen in one eclipse, and by the next 6 months, till that trigger, that effect will be there. So that's like another thing from December to June, maybe.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what plays out.
Yeah.
Thankfully, there is no Saturn Jupiter aspect as your presentation made, but there is a Mars aspect at that point, so it will be interesting. Well, that'll be a different video. But one interesting point, Dr. Pai, which you mentioned about the Ashwini, is that and combining Kapilji's point about outer planets of Uranus. Uranus is, from a Pai Paditi perspective, you look at the exaltation points of planets. And Uranus is exactly at 10 degrees of Aries right now in Ashwini Nakshatra, very close to the exaltation point of Sun. You literally have your crown affected. Uranus kind of, Ketu also being affected literally. That's very interesting to see. So it'll be very interesting to see outer planets whenever they are transiting any sensitive kind of degree in the zodiac. So I think that's also a factor. Now all the governments are panicking with Uranus falling on top of Ashwini as well. So, and all the individuals are also panicking. Very, very interesting on that front.
And it is interesting to see that the US has become the top notch today. The count is the first. And if you see the axis of 3-9, the US is in the US chart. US Lagna is what?
Scorpio.
Scorpio, correct?
Yeah.
Scorpio. So basically, if you say Scorpio, then it is the second and eighth house axis.
Yeah.
Where all this conjunction happened. So that's another eighth house we know.
Finance and death.
So.
And one more point which I wanted everybody to look at. I'm not saying I'm talking about something, but I just was observing in my research all the cities where you see this pandemic is breaking out, and you're seeing a lot of things has something to do with the launch of 5G network.
Oh.
I want to give you some clippings which I had made a post on. China Mobile was testing 5G in Hangzhou, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Wuhan. And Wuhan was the first place where 5G trials took place, and several other large cities were involved. But the first place to have 5G trials taken place and the launch was Wuhan. Secondly, Vodafone launched its 5G network in Italy in 5 cities in June 2019. That's where the northern part of Italy has all been under this. Third, Spain, actually went on to 5G in Europe, and Spain claims the first ever 5G phone call was made from Spain's mobile conference, which happened in the somewhere last year, 2000, later last year. Okay, and a lot of cities in Spain also had to come. So another place where the first movers for 5G network was Britain, where a comprehensive 5G network has been realized, and they have always relied on Chinese technology suppliers, Huawei. Okay, Iran also is moving towards 5G. These are places where I'm seeing over and over again a lot of 5G trials happening, and something to do with 5G. Why I'm saying 5G is when you look at Rahu in Ardra, that's the third house of Gemini. Okay, that's the center point where communication and technology and telephony is all about Mercury. And Rahu is what is the electromagnetic field radiations that you're going through. And just to tell you about United States, also United States is going heavily, and places like New York, California, in Texas, Dallas has been a place for 5G. So you would see a lot of cases in all those cities where 5G is being launched. So this is something that I want to say, because Rahu is moving through a Tikshna Nakshatra and Daruna Nakshatra. Tikshna means sharp, Daruna means bitter. And this has happened ever since September 2019. September 2019 mid, when Rahu moved into Ardra Nakshatra. So what is Rahu? Rahu is all about radio frequencies and UV radiation. And telecom revolution has to do with Mercury.
Interesting that you're saying that, Dr. Pai. I was at Kapil's place few days back. Kapil, you remember we were going somewhere and you did show me a network thing installed on something, and and he told, it looks like virus, like they have put like a virus on that. Exactly,
that's what I said.
Tank, and then they have put all those 5G things, and it looks like a body, and they have like virus attached. He said,
like boils coming out and stuff. Oh yeah.
Oh. And he said, I don't like that. Exactly, he said the same words.
Yeah, because the problem with 5G is when you are on 4G, it is still okay. With 5G, you're going into radio frequency at very high intensities, and it is literally like you're bombarded. Every cell is being bombarded with a lot of intense frequencies, radio frequencies. And we have done videos many times that UV radiations and radio frequencies is all the domain of Rahu.
Rahu Ketu, yeah.
I don't claim to say that it's only Rahu which is creating this phenomenon, but I'm saying Rahu and Ketu both have to play with the other planets as well. But the trigger point you see is all these cities where it has been hammered really badly is where 5G has been, there have been trials of 5G network. Just go and do a research. You will find out all these places where you see there has been some connection with 5G.
Interesting.
But now 5G is becoming a norm in like everywhere.
Yeah,
so
but
what is to be the future then if it's becoming the norm?
Because let me tell you one thing. a lot of governments and those people who have much to lose from knowing the real truth don't want to have this information revealed, because I think there were some researches which was done on electromagnetic radiation and influence by many research societies, and their research work has been stalled by governments because they and telecom providers have a lot to lose from this advancement. Okay, so I really feel these countries have to go really slow on implementation without seeing. So it can't trigger something so quickly. What is this epicenter being in Wuhan, how can things move very quickly to Italy and Spain and US? So there has to have some other means of spreading this, and easily what spreads is through Rahu is all about radio frequencies.
Yeah, one thing I can add, Dr. Pai, is that when I just turn my phone, when I just turn it to like when I turn my the mobile data off, the 5G, the 4G off, then I can sleep better. Even if it's just Wi-Fi. So I just turn my, that's something I've seen. So perhaps when it's 5G, you might not even get sleep also.
Yeah, I'll tell you what is the solution. Solution is there in our Vedic technology. Solution for Rahu is radio frequencies, and I told UV radiations. The solution is always Ketu provides a solution. What is the Ketu solution? Ketu solution is Kusha grass, or what we call as Darba. Darba grass is known in our technology in India. When you do any havan or fire rituals, you always fortify your yagna kund with dried grasses of kusha grass. And research shows that if you use kusha grass, electromagnetic radiations from your cell phones or from towers, if you are going into 5G zone, you will have many more towers that needs to, because it is superior performance that they are talking about, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So you can do, and these were places where the whole city was 5G, so you can access 5G as a WAN, wide area network. So you are inside a cocoon when you're and bombarded constantly with these sort of high frequency radiations. So using kusha grass is a technology which was being used by our Vedic scientists for a long period of time. When you sit for a puja or when you sit for a havan, you remember you wear something called as pavitra. It's a ring made of dyed kusha grass. So researchers and scientists have found when you put kusha grass sticks behind your phone and you tape it, the radiations which are emitted from the phone is going to be significantly lower. But every 15 days after every amavasya, you'll have to change the kusha grass because it will have absorbed so much of. And I'll tell you one thing, what not many people knew. Kusha grass was the grass which was used as an astra, which means, in the olden times, they used to take a kusha grass from the thing, say the mantra, and use it as an astra. And kusha grass, let me tell you one more thing, if people do not know. A dried kusha grass, you touch it, it's so sharp, you can cut yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. So this technology has been there. Why we use that is we don't want other spirits and unknown entities wanting and coming and taking the offerings that we are offering. We are giving it to Agni. But imagine if there is a pisachi or a spirit which is hungry for food that you're offering. It can come into your havan and take that offering. Instead of it going to the gods, it is going to the wrong spirit. So tantrics will use this, but if you're using Vedic technology, you want to protect and safeguard your thing, and that's why you put this. These are like barriers, electromagnetic barriers, which
Can you
doesn't.
get these grasses here in?
Of course.
Yeah.
And let me tell you more about kusha grass. Gautam Buddha sat under the Bodhi tree and he sat on kusha grass, and that's when he got enlightenment. Today, mats are available of kusha grass, which is very effective for you to increase your meditation because you won't lose and grounding doesn't happen because your spiritual energies are stored. Otherwise, you sit on synthetic mats, yoga mats, it can absorb. You can get handmade kusha grass in India.
How do you spell that, Dr. Pai?
KUS.
KUS. Yeah.
What?
Kusha.
Kusha grass.
Yeah, Kusha grass, or you can also call it. It is called as darba grass.
Darba grass. Okay.
I think you can get in Amazon somewhere, correct? You can get those.
Yeah, you can get it. Yeah, definitely.
You can get it on Amazon.
Yeah.
But you can use mats of that for electromagnetic. So when you're sitting there, no electromagnetic radiations can bombard you, and when you're in deep meditation.
So it's interesting. Maybe you could even put your mobile phone on a kusha grass small mat or something like that.
Yeah. But then you will have to wash the kusha grass mats
Right.
so that you remove that energy.
Right.
Oh. Kusha.
Right.
Great.
Okay. Anyway, I think we have.
I will stop recording.
Sure.
And
And we can continue with that.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks Aditya, and thanks Kapilji for visiting, and thanks Dr. Pai for also sharing insights. So yeah, thanks Aditya.
Thanks everyone, and I'm going to stop my recording.